Hi, I'm Rashonda. I'm the creator of this YouTube channel, as well as the artbyro.com website, where you can find over 250 art and drawing tutorials. So be sure to check that out, but of course watch the video first, which today we're going to be drawing some cute little fish. These are really easy, but there's a lot of different ways you can change them up, add some variation, and create all kinds of different types of fish, different designs. You can use different colors, but I'll get to all that in the video. So let's go ahead and go on over to the art studio and get started. Okay, let's draw a fish today. So there's a lot of different ways that you can draw fish. You can change them up by changing the shape of the body. You can put different fins, different scale textures. You can do the way you do the eye, you could do them different. There's so many different ways to vary your drawing and your end results. So today we're just going to start with a simple oval shape. And then we're going to start putting the fins on. We'll put the tail. We'll have a nice big tail coming off the back. We'll maybe just make kind of a wave line there for the back part of the tail. And then we want to do this top fin is going to be somewhere around in here. And we can just make this like little spikies. We'll bring it back a little bit more. Bring it back to there. You can erase if you need to. You can change the top fin up. You can change the way you do the tail. And then let's go ahead and put a fin here. So this one's going to be coming off of this side of the body here. And then the one back here is going to be tucked behind the other side of the body. I'm going to make this a little bit of a curved line and bring that down a little bit more to more of a point. And you can make the one in the back a little bit smaller because it's going to be further away. And then if you want, for the shape of the fish, we can bring this out a little bit and make it a little bit more narrow than the rest of the body. And that's pretty much it for the basic drawing, the basic sketch. Of course, he needs an eye, so make a nice big oversized eye on him. And then if you want, you can put a mouth. We'll make a little curly line there at the end, just keeping it fun, keeping it loose. Your drawings should bring you joy. They should be relaxing and not overly stressful. That's, in my opinion, that's the whole point of creating art, is to relax and just have fun and enjoy it. So we don't want to stress out too much about what we're doing. We want to keep them light and loose and fun. So let's go ahead and get a black pen and we will put an outline on this guy. I'm using this Edding pen. I just got these not too long, maybe about a month ago, and I've been using these lately. The type of pen you use doesn't really matter. You can use whatever you like or whatever you have access to. Not everybody has access to the same supplies, or maybe you don't have the budget to buy a bunch of different supplies. So whatever you can use, that's fine. Use whatever you have. And I'm just going to go ahead and fill that in. I'll leave a little area to add a white highlight to, which I could fill that all the way in black and just add a highlight over top of it with a white Jelly Roll pen. That would work too. So what I'm going to do is just trace right over top of my pencil lines, and I'm going to ignore any sketchy type lines that I don't want to keep. And then I will probably go over the outside edges and darken them up and make them a little bit thicker, just to vary the line weight a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and speed it up and do that, and I'll be back when this is finished. The next thing I want to do is I just use this black eraser and clean up all the pencil lines. You can use one of those pink erasers, the pink pearl erasers. It doesn't really matter. It's just easier to use a bigger eraser so you can just quickly go over the whole thing. And then for the scales, we do want to add some kind of texture to our drawing. So I'm just gonna make these kind of wavy lines coming off of here, just to keep it a little bit on the fun side. It kind of goes along with the mouth. Let me put one up here at the top if we want. So now what we want to do is add color. So I'm using a toned cardstock. This is a heavyweight cardstock cut down into the size of an artist trading card. And I can cut a whole sheet of these up. It gives me 10 cards. I keep them already set aside, cut up, ready to go. And then all I do is when I'm ready to do a drawing, I grab one. It's good to go. And with this tone paper, you can still color it just like you would if it was on white paper. So I'm going to use the same colors I would use. And I'm going to also use the same coloring technique, I guess you would call it, as if it was on white paper. And the tone on the paper, it's just going to change it up a little bit. The colors will look a little bit different, not a ton different, but it will change the look a little bit. So I'm going to add the light and then the dark, and then blend it out with the lighter color again. So I'm going to do that. This is a light blue, and it makes a kind of a grayish color on here. And I'm working in small sections at a time so that the alcohol in the markers don't evaporate. And I also want to add a little bit more of the black detail in these bigger sections. For some reason, I just don't like the big solid sections of just plain color. So I'll usually break those up a little bit with either black or white. We could put some lines in the eye, give it a little bit more detail. And you can do as little or as much as you want. You can add a lot of detail. You can put just a little bit of detail. You could do some hatching or cross hatching and give it that little bit of a, like that comic book type of a feel to it. A lot of different ways you can do these drawings. My goal is not to have you copy mine exactly. Of course you can. My goal is to try to give you some ideas to get you thinking about ways you can do it a little bit different and make it your own. Put your own look and style to it. So you could do this same basic step-by-step drawing that I'm showing you, and you could do it a bunch of different times, do a series of these fish drawings and make it a little bit different each time. You could make the eye different, you could do the body shape different, you could make the mouth open, you could give them teeth, you could make them a little bit more mean looking. You could, each time, if you did a series, and each time just change one thing or two things, or you could change all of it and just keep doing it different every time and see how many different variations you can come up with, which, by the way, is a terrific creativity exercise. It helps you be more creative, think outside the box, try different things. So if your goal is to do, I like to do a series of 7, but you could even push that further and try doing more, and with the goal of every time you do another drawing, it has to be different and not repeating the same drawing. That's a really good way to work on being more creative and coming up with your own ideas. You know, for a lot of people, they feel like they don't ever come up with anything original. You hear a lot, I don't know how to come up with ideas from my own imagination. And this is a way that you can practice doing that, just by taking a tutorial that you've watched, follow along with it the first time, and then after that draw it again, but try different things. Even if the only thing you do is change the shape of the body. There's nothing that says that a fish has to be an oval or a circle. You could make it a square, you could make it an organic shape. But the idea is to just try different things and see what you can come up with. We're just going to go back over these edges, soften them up a little bit. I usually use dual tip markers, which are nice. They got this bigger chisel point. So what I found with the markers is when they start drying out, as this one's starting to dry out, if you flip it over and use the other side, usually the bigger side, will have more alcohol left in it, and you can finish up your drawing that way. And you may have noticed I'm using a lot of different brands of markers. I've accumulated markers over the years, and they're all alcohol-based markers, and you can mix and match them. You don't have to stick with any one brand, but I like to try different markers and see what I like or don't like about them. And this one is definitely about to run out. The bad thing with markers, when, like these Bic markers, you have to buy them in a set. You can't buy just individual colors. At least I've never been able to find individual colors. So you have to buy a set, and then when you need another, like when this one runs out, you have to buy an entire set just to get this one marker to replace it. So that doesn't work. But the good thing with the big markers is you can usually get them pretty much anywhere. Our local grocery store has them. Discount stores have them. You can, of course, get them on Amazon. But the downside is you're going to end up using certain colors more than others. So you're going to have one color that needs replaced and not the others, and you got to buy a whole set, and then you end up with a bunch of random markers that you'll probably never use because it's just not a color you use. Of course, I guess you could challenge yourself to find ways to use those other markers. That might be a good exercise to do as an artist, to try to challenge yourself to use different marker colors. So I'm just putting in this darker orange to add a little variation to the color. You can make them a little bit thicker if you want. You can keep them thin. I kind of like the thicker on the edge and then the thinner line where the texture of the body is. And then I'm just going to darken this up a little bit around this edge. Pretty much using up the rest of this marker. And then for the background, we could do some kind of a scene back there, an underwater scene. We could put some bubbles. You could color it in blue or green. Again, there's a lot of different ways you can do your background. I'll show you a really simple way that I do quite a bit. I have this purple that I'm going to use, kind of a fuchsia color, I guess you would call it. And just putting this ring around the outside, like this halo, just to add a little color to it. And even though you're not filling in the whole background, I feel like it does add a little bit of a finishing touch to it, instead of it just kind of floating on the paper, which is fine. You don't have to do anything to finish it. You can just leave the drawing as is. So as I mentioned earlier, I do a lot of my drawings on artist trading cards. I don't always trade them. I actually don't trade very often. I do sometimes. It's fun. I do enjoy it. But it's a little bit time consuming, and you have to be kind of on the ball with it, I guess. There's a little bit that goes into it as far as managing the trades and keeping track of everything and making sure you get the cards out on time and getting to the post office if you need to. But what I like to do is I will make these cards and keep them in a binder. There's card sleeves you can put them in. And then I have a nice little portfolio. And if I want to trade them, I can. If I don't feel like trading, I just keep them in the portfolio, and I like to go back and look at them sometimes. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of white. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't like all these big areas of open color. I like to break them up a little bit with some black, put some white in here. And this, of course, is an optional step. I'm using a white jelly roll. It goes over the marker really nicely. As long as the marker's dry, if your marker is still wet, then it might absorb into the paper. If that's the case, then just let the marker dry a little bit. Once that alcohol evaporates out, you should be able to go over top of the marker and have it lay on top. So that's it for this fish drawing. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you feel inspired to make some of your own artwork. And I will see you in the next video. Happy creating! Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please hit that like button and subscribe to get notified of future videos. And before you go, check out the description box. There's some freebies in there. There is an artist trading card guide if you're not sure what artist trading cards are. I love doing my artwork on them. They were really just a game changer for me. So be sure to check that out before you leave. And hopefully you feel inspired to go make some of your own artwork. And I will see you next time. Bye!